Good morning. My name is Brenda. I'm going to be doing a long version. I'm just going to show the whole video of me making one of my crossbody bags. The crossbody bags that I'm working on today is the salmon running design that I have. And it comes on one fat quarter. This one here is a new material that I haven't tried with this project before, and it's performance linen. And all my designs are sold on Spoonflower, and you'll find this under the cut and sew, do-it-yourself cut and sew patterns. And I have a whole selection of different ones now. I have the hipster clip-on bags, I have stuffed toys, and other craft projects, but they all are on just one fat quarter. Now this fat quarter, because it's on linen, it does give you a little extra. And I've already cut that off. And at the top is the instructions. So I'm going to lay down this cloth, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off the instructions. It's all across the top. What I like to do is lay this aside and then follow along. So here's the printed instructions. And I'll just set this right here on my table. You can't see, but it's right over here, and it says the first thing you're going to do is cut out on the dotted lines for main pieces, and then you cut out the strips. And I've cut out the strips already. These are going to make your strap. Now you can use other material if you want to use, or even buy yourself a leather strap, whatever you want for your crossbody part, but it does come with these straps that you can make into the purse strap by folding it, and we'll get in with that later. Right now I'm going to go ahead and cut out these pieces, and there's not a lot of pieces. You'll have the this is the back and the front flap. You see that it's flipped because one way it'll be down on one side, and then the next one here, it shows you is the inside of the flap and the front bottom of that flap on the inside. And then these two pieces here are pockets that you will put on. So let me cut these out. And I have on the blog that I have a little blog. Most of my social media I do on Instagram. I do have a Pinterest site with just things that I love across Pinterest. But Instagram is where I put any new designs that I have coming out. That's where you'll see it first, on my Instagram, and that's just under Salzanos. I tend to specialize in country, coastal, and I do love doing these little fat quarter projects. So that means when you buy a fat quarter, you're going to get a whole sewing pattern all on that fat quarter. I have key fobs now on there, so there's different colors of key fobs, and you'll find stuffed toys, and it's always, I try to keep things pretty simple for even beginners to do. I don't think I have anything that's you have to be really super good at sewing with. Most of these you can do, at least an intermediate can do it, and this project here, even a beginner could do it, especially if you watch the videos. And I have some older videos already up on how to do it, and every one of them, when you do the crossbody bag, it's also called the dog walking bag on some, because in the flap part at the top you put in a grommet, and that's where you put your little dog bags. But this one is just the crossbody bag. I'm not making it into a dog walking bag, and I really have design this so that the colors and the theme is that a man would, or a fishing enthusiast would love this bag. So either male or female would love to have this to go out and go fishing with. You might keep your lures in this bag, and your phone, just a couple essentials while you're out fishing, fly fishing, or that sort of thing. So anyway, I've got the pieces already cut out. That's how easy that was. And I'm going to show you on this here, on this front one, You can see that these are the little pockets, then we'll go down in here. But let's see what the thing says next to do. So after we've cut out all the pieces, it says fold under 1/4 inch top of pocket A and B. So I take my two pockets, which are clearly labeled. There's number A and one B. So what that means is I'm going to fold down that top, the little top part. And I have the black line is what I use as a fold down. And you can do it double if you want, so you don't have any kind of raw edges. It's however you want to do this. This bag is not lined. You would have to use an extra fabric. And if you did want to line it, if you're an advanced sewer, intermediate, and you want to line everything, then you would use these pieces as a template for the lining material. But I don't use a liner in my little projects that I'm doing. So right now I'm just going to hem this top, and then we'll go on to the second one and do. And in case anyone wants to know, I am using a Passport 2-point FAF machine. I bought this a couple years ago. I have to say that I'm really impressed with the machine. I'd had a Singer for years and had so many problems, and I basically just didn't even want to sew. I was always having so many problems. And I'm not I wouldn't say I'm a professional seamstress. I only sew because I want to make projects, and so you got to see how it's going to turn out. So you got to be making things. I've got this set on just a standard stitch. One thing you can do, I'm going to double fold this so there's no fraying in the bottom, is also when you do your stitch across the top of this pocket, it's kind of fun to, I won't on this one because I've got so much pattern here, but it's really fun to do like one of your special stitches. All these machines have lots of stitches now, so it's great fun to do right across the top of these pockets, is make a really fancy little stitch across there. And so this has to be done first. There, that's all done. That's the top, and you can see your fish right there. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to iron it, and then I'll be right back. When you go to my Spoonflower site, you'll find that there are lots of categories. When you use Spoonflower, remember that you can save anything you like by just hearting it, but you can also put it in categories. So you can, when you set up your site on Spoonflower, rather than just being a guest, you will get a lot more benefit from the site if you go ahead and have a login name and a name that you go by, so that you can save in different categories, different materials that you like that other artists have got. You'll find that every artist has collections, and the collections is the do-it-yourself cut and sew for this particular project. But that's another thing that's really handy if you sew or make crafts or you're a quilter or whatever, is that you can be more organized on Spoonflower with all of your sewing needs, rather than just walking in a store. And you always come back and then look up the ones that you've put a heart on, and they've got a little heart thing where it says you can like it, you can like it. You can make comments on there too. Go ahead and do the next one now, just the same as we did the first one. I'm taking pocket B, It does make your work go faster if you have an iron, and you can iron down everything first, because then it saves on sewing. By that I mean, if I hadn't ironed that pocket, then you'd have to sew those seams all the way around. And then you have to sew it again when you put the pocket on the bag. So I figured out that I'd rather just iron them under, and then when I go to sew it, I'll just sew it once and sew it right down on the bag. I also like to keep my ends clipped. I just don't like the mess of all the little pieces hanging out there. So now both of them have had the tops sewed under. I sewed it twice. This one has been ironed, so it already is starting to fold under. I'm going to iron this one now. Now you can put, you'll be sitting here like I'm sitting here. This one here again is the back and front of flap, and then this is the bottom part of it. And then this inside flap, this is the inside of the flap, and then this is the front of your bag. So you'll want to decide which pocket you want on the front. Now your flap is going to cover up most of the front. The back is where I suggest you put the bigger pocket, because that's probably where you'd want your phone. But it's up to you. You can put the bigger pocket on the inside front, or you can put the smaller one there. And it's your choice to put which one. You could also, if you didn't want to use the salmon design, you could use a scrap of paper that you have, or maybe even use these two on the back and the front, and then get a template and trace around one of these and put another pocket inside, because there is an inside pocket, and you can put another pocket in there. And you want to do all that before you start sewing up the sides. So I'm going to put the little one inside. And what you will do is you're going to just find out where you want it and kind of put a little pin there. Make sure you stay up from the sewing line, which is the solid black line. And then you will just sew that all down. Let's see here. Line this up. Okay, about right there. My dad was an avid fisherman. That's why I made these different designs. One of my best-selling designs is just called Vintage Fly Fishing Lures. And I did it in a kind of camo green. Be sure and back stitch a couple times where that pocket is first adhered to the backing, so that when you're using that pocket a lot over time, it's not going to rip out. You can kind of tuck in those edges when you get to a corner so that they're not showing too on the end, because these aren't lined, remember. I think the key to having your project work out nice the way you like it is really take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Don't think you have to, if you're feeling hurried, just do something else first. Get that done with. Leave your sewing for when you have lots of time and you can just go slowly and just enjoy the moments that you're doing this. It's very relaxing if you do that. If I get, like, I feel pressured or something, then I can get frustrated with sewing. I have more patience when I do sculpting than when I do sewing. So I've learned to just, take my time, enjoy what I'm doing. Don't be in a hurry. If you make a mistake, which you're going to, you can rip out. If you feel frustrated at that moment, then just come back later after you rip it out. That's why a seam ripper is very important for me to have. I have had times when I had to rip a lot. That's life, isn't it? You're going to make mistakes. Nobody does everything perfect. There isn't anybody. Nobody. And actually, the best things have come. You've actually learned how to do things the best or have new ideas from mistakes that you've done because you just keep working at it. So there's your first pocket is on there. I can take the pin out now. And that's on the bottom of this inside flap. So it's inside flap is on the top, but this is actually the front of the bag. So this will come down. That'll be the flap down. And of course, it'll have the other side on it with the fish. And I'm thinking that on the final, the one that will final be available online, we'll have some salmon just silhouetted in black right along the top. I'm not sure exactly where, but I thought that I might add that just as a little something extra. There's another option you're going to see you can have, and that is this area here can be left open. Right now, you can see there's a dotted line there. That's where we're going to cut that one now. I'm going to go ahead and cut that now, and then do the other the other pocket. Oops, wrong scissors. I have. These scissors are only for material. These are for paper. And the two shall not be swapped. Why? Because your fabric scissors will get dull really fast and it won't cut fabric if you're cutting paperwork. This one here will not cut fabric now because it's only been used on paper. Anyway, the next thing is to get my other pocket on. And that's the bigger pocket. That's going on here with the fish. So it will be down here. Right about in there. This is actually the back of the purse. I'm putting this one on. Let me pin that again. I'm not super picky about exact placement of things. I like to kind of do it as I go along. It is a handmade item. I saw something interesting once. Was a well-known crafting person, and they always did everything, I mean, perfect, which is amazing. I mean, I admire their abilities and stuff, but the person had said, this was a long time ago, that they had made, handmade all their cards for a holiday, and they were sending out to everybody. And this person was really upset because after she gave out all these cards, like to 50 people or whatever, everybody kept telling her where did she buy the cards, but she had made it, so she was angry about it. But the thing was, is she's such a perfectionist that the cards, yes, they looked like they had been mass produced because they were so perfect. I think that has really changed my life in that I don't want you to think it's perfect. I'd like for my customers to know that it's handmade. When I'm designing something, they're not going to look like they were computer generated. You know, they're going to have the human touch to it. Maybe, yeah, it's a good thing. Okay, and again, stitching over a couple times on that entrance to the pocket right at the top, and stitching down where I had ironed it and folded it. And I just stitch all the way around the bottom and the sides, but not, obviously, not the top where you put things in. This pocket is plenty big enough for a standard iPhone, so it's big enough to keep your phone in there. I try to fold my corners so that they're not anything showing when you make your hem. You know how sometimes that little corner on the tries to peek out. I try to stay really close to the edge so I'm not missing anything. It actually wouldn't hurt to go back and forth on the bottom of it either. If you want to make it more sturdy for putting your phone in and out so it doesn't rip later on. This linen, this is called the performance linen, is so soft. It has a nice texture to it. I'm really impressed with it. Very easy to handle. It does tend to have the little ravels come out a little bit, so you have to be careful with that. But otherwise, I think this is going to be a really good one to keep on hand for making a lot of things. Another reason I do these fat quarter projects is I figure there's probably people like me that, yes, you can just go buy fabric. You can buy it real cheap at, different downtown stores. Spoonflower is a little more costly. But I find maybe people are like me and you want a project where you don't have to go out and pick all the different fabrics, that you want to just do a quick project and be able to finish it quickly, like for gifts. Or maybe you're selling these items, like you could sell, if you make these, buy these and sell them, that's okay. You can't take my design and then put it on some other product, but you can take my design already on fabric and make that fabric into something and sell it. And so I thought with the fat quarters, they don't, like I said, they don't have to go out and buy all the extra material. Here's my second pocket. It's already on there. Like I have the key fobs. You get 6 key fobs on a fat quarter, and each one is different, a little different design. And I can show you one. I have some here somewhere. There they are. They're already packaged to go, but here's one with the fly fishing lures. It has my little tag on there. And this one here is, they're all fly fishing, and fishing, this one, the design is. It's done with a metal. It has a really heavy duty metal clasp on the bottom. But the fabric comes on one fat quarter and you get 6 different designs. They're not all the same. They're already pre-measured so that each one will come out an inch wide. And I think that people like that idea. I think it makes their lives less complicated, and you just buy the one fat quarter. And Spoonflower has sales on them all the time. Right now, I think there was a 25% off or a 20% off thing. So a fat quarter would be about around $8 or $9. And sometimes they've got the buy one, get one free. So you can watch for that a couple times a year. So now we have both pockets on. The next thing it says is to, it says place a grommet on the front. That's if you're going to have the dog bag. I already told you that. Now we're going to stitch the front piece to the front top. And I have cut the two into these two here that had the dotted line there. So of course this is the front right there, the inside of the flap, the inside of that front flap. And this one is the back, or which when you fold it down it becomes the front. It's kind of confusing, but anyway, this piece is going to go. Always remember that you want the right sides together when you stitch. So right sides are together inside, so we know we're sewing on the right thing. Oh, there's one other thing I need to do. This has to be hemmed before I stitch it on. This bottom part, because this is where it's going to be, unless I didn't want it open. But even if I wanted to open, it's nice to have a hem on this right here. It says C right there. It says C, and when you look on the thing here, it will tell you that that needs to be hemmed. So let's hem that real quick. And you'd want to hem both those pieces that we cut in half. I do only have like a 1/4 of an inch, maybe less of a hem, because if you take that then and do it twice, it's going to leave a little gap. But the gap is important because that's where your tabs are going to go. When you get this all put together, you got to have a place for the tabs, which attach your strap. And the tabs are important to have room for those and still have it lay nice. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this one with the pocket. This is the top part here that needs to have a hem also. I'm going to do that too. You could also, if you didn't want to keep, if you didn't want to hem it too much, you could use some binding if you wanted to on that top part. It's up to you. Like I said, this is very versatile. It's got the basics there. You can change things around, and yet it's fast and easy to do. Inside pocket. Okay, so again we have, here's the big fish one. It's going to this one here, and you'll just line up those black lines. The center is going to be open. I'm going to personally leave this one open. You'll see why later. You line it up. Most of the fabrics, when you do this part, you can actually see through it and see the black lines. So it still gives you somewhere to go by. I decided to cut off the corners here where it goes in kind of a semicircle. If you can see that, it's just like this. If you look at where we're supposed to sew, you see that's kind of a circle there, so I'm going to cut that off just a little bit before I start sewing. Again, double stitch that beginning when you first start. Go back and forth. it doesn't matter if that black line shows. You know, if you don't get it perfectly over the black line, it looks still nice. When you go and turn it inside out, it just gives it a border, which is really nice. When you're going around the corners, you can stop your machine, use your fingers and turn it just a little bit instead of just pushing that fabric in. Stop it with the needle down and turn it a little bit and continue on. And I keep lifting up to making sure on this fabric you can't see through it as good as you can on the cotton. I don't even use pins and stuff. I just am adjusting and watching underneath as I go along. I find these way better than pins. When I do use things, I just use these clippies. Get them on Amazon, get a whole bunch of them. Love those things. I use them all over the place. I've been using them on curtains or whatever I need held. What a great little invention. They're only plastic, but still, I really like them. And you can see how that looks right now. You can see that this is where the tab will go. I have it clearly marked. The tab will go there. I've already hemmed this. And I'm going to put the next part together, and that's the bottom. Again, right sides will be together. Pockets will be facing each other. So now I'm going to be sewing this part on all the way around. Here's how it looks like. So you know right where you're at. This doesn't have a circle on the bottom, so it's basically a square while you're sewing. Check my things here, make sure I'm doing it right. Yes. You know, these bags, I found that if you really like making little bags, they're not just for purses and stuff. You can use them around the house to organize things. I've always moved quite a bit. When you get ready to move, it's way easier if you've got big bags, you know, like even laundry bags. You can stuff all your clothes in them. Anything soft, linens, bedding. Well, I've been making lots of bags. I think we're coming to some hard times in the future, and you never know where you might have to move to next. So I rent an apartment right now. We rent this apartment here. My bedroom and my art room is all one, so it's all one. It works. It's a nice place. I get to be near my kids, and of course they're all grown. And I get to do all my hobbies and my art here. I've been an artist my entire life, and I'm in my 70s now. I like trying new things, and I like making things. I definitely grew up in a time when there wasn't any prepping. I mean, people just stocked up. If you went to the store and there was something on sale, let's say canned beans were on sale, you buy extra canned beans. I never used a recipe and then go find ingredients. I make my recipes about what we got at the store. I still do that. And the stocking up is always having extra in the cupboard. Things like canned goods, canned tuna, canned beans, some of your basics like cornstarch, baking soda, beans and dry beans and rice. These things should always be kept up, and even more now. That being said, you never know where you're going to be at when a catastrophe might hit. I mean, you're stocking all this stuff up at home. Well, maybe you're stuck in your car clear across town and you're not going to get back to the house. So I keep a few things in my car even. But that's from living, I'm a child of the 50s. And that was just after World War II was done. So people, they went through some really hard times. Being an artist, I also like to stock up on some, especially sewing supplies. If we get back to a time when you just can't go buy everything at the store, which it's going to, then you can make things, or you can repair what you have. That's a biggie. Learn to repair things, your jeans and things. Okay, now that I've got this all done, I've done it all the way around, 2 different pieces. And we know that we have this pocket here, which is your flap, and then we have the other pocket down here. When I flip this inside, there'll be extra pockets. Now you want to trim around the sides. If you want to do extra, to make it extra sturdy, you can put another row of stitching all the way around before you trim this back. That's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and trim this. You don't need all that excess. And besides, when you turn it inside out, and you want to take corners, and usually I put my finger right here where the stitching is, because you definitely don't want to get too close to the stitching, and then just cut it off. That makes it, when you fold it inside right, then it's not going to be balling up down there and being unsightly and taking up room. So I'm just going to trim all these. Cut across on the corner, anywhere where you can save bulk. Your item will lay nice. Invest in a good pair of scissors, and then keep them sharp best you can. You can take them to a sewing place and they can sharpen, or there's other places that will sharpen them. I think you can buy your own sharpeners. In this day and age, you probably better own one, which I don't. I think that's something I better do. I actually grew up on a homestead in Alaska, so I learned a lot about making do with what you have. We lived way out in Talkeetna, Alaska, before there were any roads there. Our bathroom was an outhouse. We had no toilet paper. We used Sears and Roebuck catalog pages. I mean, it's not the same as toilet paper, I can tell you that. But you do what you do. We took baths in Mom had an old wringer washer because there was no electricity. We did have, eventually Dad did have a fuel powered generator for temporary use of runoff of fuel, gas, to have electricity once in a while, but most of the time it was just off grid. So we had running water later, but for a couple of years my sister and I were really real young. My mother carried water from a creek, and Dad put in a field of potatoes, and we ate a lot of moose meat. Army rations were real cheap to buy, so we would get those things. But it was, the reason we were out there was that they gave like 15 acres or more to anybody who would live there for 5 years, 3 to 5 years or something. So that's how Dad and Mom got started, having their own property. So now we're at this stage where we have the flap. You can see it comes down. On the back of the bag is your big pocket. It's a bray there hanging out. There's your big pocket. and big. And then when you open it, you have the inside pocket, you have your smaller pocket, and like I said, you can sew this up and then like kind of quilt this top, but I like it open, and I'll put like a handkerchief in there, something light, doesn't fall out, so it stays there, the handkerchief will. And then here's your bag. Now we just need to do the straps, and I'm not going to show you the whole process of the straps, but I do want to show you that you take some of this strapping that I have for the straps, and you take some of that and you make a small, I'll go ahead and I'll just make one and then show you how that does. We'll do that part too. And I'm going to use the excess actually, because like I said, I got this on this linen, so I had extra of the straps. There's a little piece of it, and I'm just going to use that, so I'm not using the strap pieces. I think this would probably be about big enough to make 2 tabs. I'm just going to cut that out. This really cuts your cost down too. And I'm going to make 2 of this, but I'm going to hem it right now. And then I'll cut it in half. Show you how this works. First I hem both of the long sides. Again, you could just iron this and save some stitching, but I'm just gonna do it this way right now. See, I'm getting low on bobbin thread. Hopefully we can finish off the project. Obviously, your little pattern on the fat quarter is not going to come with your hardware, so you do have to buy your brackets and your thing for your strap to go on. Oh, let me show you first. This is how it looks right now. Just hem both sides. Now I'm going to fold that in half. I'm going to stitch it again. All this extra stitching on this is actually a good thing. You get a lot of wear and tear on these tabs. Now then, I just fold this in half once. I'm going to cut that again. I have 2 tabs, exactly the same. The tabs, I'll show you what I use for this is going to be what I'm going to put the tabs on, attached to the purse. And then when I do my straps, this is what you'll need, is something to clip on. So you have one end of clip, and then you'll have this, which the fabric will go through. So first thing, you always want to put look at your piece that you got, and then you want to have a top and a bottom, and always pick the one that looks the best. So that's how that'll look. And then you're going to take that, you're going to place it right there where it said tab, and you're going to go back and forth with a cross stitch or just a single stitch, but go back it a number of times, 2 different ways, so it's nice and firm. You'll do one on both sides, so that's where your tab will go, and that will clip to your strap. And remember, it has a flat side. It's a D-ring. So really, I probably could stop that there. Well, I'll go ahead and sew this on. Keep make up my mind, but I didn't want the video to be too awful long, but hopefully it's not going to be too awful long. Don't sew down your top or your bottom area. Make sure when you're going to have to kind of carefully put this underneath your machine, and then only sew on that tab. I'm going to use a zigzag stitch. I just used my regular color that I'm using, which is kind of a gray. It's like, I have found white isn't the multi-purpose thread, it's gray. Gray goes with everything. Just kind of blends with it. Okay, that's how it'll look. And you're going to do that on both sides. So this is actually how it would look. There's your tab and your D-ring, and then you'll do that the same on the other end. Make your strap. You're going to make that the same way that you did make your tab. You're going to make it the same way. It'll end up being just a thin strap, unless you want a different material on the outside. Anyway, I hope you have fun making these, and that you'll check us out. Check out all my little patterns, the do-it-yourself cut and sews on Spoonflower, and I'd love it if you make something. Send me a picture that I could share on Instagram, or if you're on Instagram, follow me. I'll follow you back. Love to hear how you like it and how it's going. If you have any problems, write to me. I'll be glad to help you all I can. And I hope you have some happy sewing. Take care. Bye.